Hi there. A lot of spy photos came out of House of the Dragon's new filming in Cornwall this week, and in the previous video I focused on Millie Alcock as young Rhaenyra. I'm splitting these off into shorter videos for each character to give them more focus. From that same scene with her, in this video I'm going to focus on we now have clear shots of young Laenor Velaryon, her husband. For that matter, we didn't even know who was playing Laenor Velaryon. There is going to be a young Laenor and an older Laenor to match young and adult Rhaenyra. Young Laenor, at least, is played by actor Theo Nate. That we had never heard of this, there were no rumors, we found out about it when the spy photos came out this week. Theo is a pretty new actor. Well, he's mostly done theater work. He hasn't really done TV work before. But that's true for a couple of cast members on this. That Emma Darcy, who plays adult Rhaenyra, is mostly a theater actor. Eve Best, who plays Laenor's mother, Rhaenys, also mostly a theater actor. You might have seen her in some TV stuff, but she's mostly theater. I managed to find a video clip of him doing a stage play, and it was a pretty good clip, so check out, if you want to preview him, check out the clip that I've linked in the description box below of him doing this stage play. He only has one TV credit to his name so far, though, in the world of television. Just this past year, like a minor walk-on role in a British TV show called Time, which stars Sean Bain. So he had a minor, tiny roles like the friend of another character in a Sean Bain show with Ned Stark. So mixed race actor, as you can see, a relatively light-skinned mixed race actor. That this is good. This matches for Laenor, who's the son of Corlys and Rhaenys, who are played by. He looks like he could be the son of Steve Toussaint and Eve Best. That once we saw that they've cast a black man as Corlys, well, then are you going to cast a mixed race actor to play Laenor or something? And they did. So this is a change for the show. Like I've said in other videos, I consider it a relatively minor one. Corlys had no physical description in the books. Laenor did. Laenor is described as having classic Targaryen features, so obviously this is a slight change from that, but I said before, I don't think this breaks the rules of the storyverse, that they're going to show that the lower-ranking Valyrian families below the Dragon Lords weren't as obsessed with blood purity, and there's Summer Islanders all over the Narrow Sea, so said this before, the fact that they were making Corlys black didn't give me any more problems when they made Salladhor Saan the pirate black, that they could be like that. They're from the Eastern Continent. The first thing that jumped to my mind when we saw that Corlys had been cast that way was this irrational fear that, oh God, this is going to screw up the paternity subplot. That was really the only thing I was worried about, the paternity subplot. That there's the accusation that Laenor's sons, Corlys's grandsons, aren't really his, but that Rhaenyra had bastards with Harwin Strong. And this is played deliberately ambiguous because Rhaenyra herself, her mother's father, was the head of House Arryn. So maybe they just look like her other grandfather. It's entirely plausible. Queen Alysanne didn't look Valyrian. Jaehaerys' queen, Alysanne, because she had a grandmother from House Macy, she had honey blonde hair and blue eyes. She looked like a Lannister. It did like an Andal. So this isn't that unprecedented, but that, okay, maybe the sons, it's just a recessive trait, but people started talking of, well, are they your sons? You have three bastards in a row. Not going to get into that here in too much detail. But at the time, it was this really big irrational fear I had that, oh God, it hit me like a lightning bolt. It was instantaneous in my brain. Are they going to make her Rhaenyra's sons black and make it that Alicent doesn't like them because she's a racist, which would totally not get the point of the story? That Alicent doesn't like the Hightowers don't like the Velaryons because they're new money. That within a generation, because of Corlys's voyages and spice trading, he became the richest man in Westeros. Within a generation, rivaling the Lannisters and Hightowers, and they don't like that. And there was absolutely no reason for me to suspect that. I was so used to Benioff and Weiss doing stupid illogical things that would screw it up. But this is pretty much what we hoped for. We can now confirm with other spy photos that Corlys looks very dark-skinned, but with Valyrian blonde hair. We don't think the Velaryons were intermixed for centuries. We think it's something like Corlys's mother or maybe his grandmother was a Summer Islander trader or something, which is entirely plausible. But that he has blonde hair, platinum blonde, white Valyrian hair, and pretty dark skin. But then his son, Laenor, looks kind of mixed race. And then the grandsons of Corlys, through Rhaenyra, they look completely white, that they don't have any dark complexion to them, which you'd sort of expect from that. But the real thing is that they don't have Valyrian silver hair. The accusation, well, he looks mixed race and blonde, and they look very Caucasian and with brown hair. He looks nothing like you. Your three grandsons look nothing like him. Maybe they're bastards. And yeah, this sort of mirrors the situation with Cersei's bastards, but no one accused Cersei of having bastards, even after 3 children that looked nothing like Joffrey. With Rhaenyra, she had 3 sons. They accused the first one of being a bastard as soon as he was born. No one is stupid enough to accidentally keep having 2 more sons that are bastards when people are already suspecting the first one. It's too many. I don't think Rhaenyra was stupid. I mean, either she did it on purpose, or or they just look like her grandfather. Either way, there's no way that she accidentally had 3 bastards. Then again, Cersei didn't accidentally have 3 bastards. She did that on purpose, but I don't know. Point is, this is the best case scenario. This is what we thought a sane person would do of, oh, well, the Laenor would be mixed race and the grandsons wouldn't look like Laenor at all, just to keep the plot point of the paternity subplot, that this, in many ways, as others have pointed out, like Gray Area, Tony Teflon, this only emphasizes the paternity subplot, that they really don't look like Laenor. Even more so, that even in their skin tone, not just their hair color. This would have been a lot easier if they kept in that Valyrians they don't have blue eyes or brown eyes, they have purple eyes. And the TV show cut this out. They said it was too complicated. Hey, The Witcher gets to do that all the time with other characters. I don't think they're bringing it back. I'm sorry about that. Otherwise, this works out. In terms of his clothing, he very clearly looks like Corlys's son. This is a version of that Velaryon costume Corlys was wearing in that high-resolution promo photo they put out. We've been getting multiple sets of spy photos, and the new set that came out just this morning, we got a better look at the make of this costume from the sides. Someone pointed out this is accurate medieval sleeves, that they're not attached to the tunic, that they're sewn on for mobility like that. So the costuming detail, I'm not a costumes expert, but good detailing on the costume here in and of itself. Elephant in the room is, I'm amazed at how many people have been complaining about the wigs on this show, and I am not a wig expert. And I have friends online who are professional cosplayers who specialize not just in cosplay, but in wig cosplay as a subset of that, who are really talking about this. So I know for some people this is very serious business. I don't even know why people were making fun of Matt Smith's wig in the professional official promo shot they put out. And some people are making fun of Laenor's wig in this, that it looks kinky hair, curly hair, because like Corlys, that it looks like dreadlocks, which makes sense if he's a mixed race. This is known to happen. The weird thing that we've been talking about on Twitter and on Reddit is some people think this wig looks really bad in certain photos, but in new spy photos we got, it looks a lot better depending on the light he's standing in. So make fun of Matt Smith's wig if you must, because that's an official promo pic they put out. They want it to be represented to the world. You remember, television, when they present it to us on the screen, has gone through digital filters and color grading. So given that these are fuzzy spy photos, they might need to be color corrected. Hold off judgment on a wig until it's in a promo photo. And, based on the May filming, a week after we got spy photos of Daemon and Corlys, we got official promo pics of both of them. So if next week we get a promo pic of Laenor, I will report on it and you can make fun of it. I'm saying don't make fun of the quality of someone's costume or wig when we're going off of relatively blurry spy photos. I mean, if you want to make fun of the general outline of a costume, why are there open sleeves on young Rhaenyra's costume? That's one thing. But if you're talking about like the quality of the fabric, how would we know? These are blurry spy photos. I don't know. And as a guy, I don't really care about the quality of the wig. I mean, I want them to be nice, but I'm used to, cardboard sets and rubber forehead space monsters on Star Trek. What I care about is good storytelling. And I don't know what's going on. Somebody, or is this wig gate now? That back in back when we were getting the first photos from Game of Thrones season 1, people were complaining that Emilia Clarke didn't dye her eyebrows white to match that Daenerys has white eyebrows. And it would have been a little jarring that way, I guess. But this is the equivalent of that to me. I don't really have a problem with the wig stuff. More people care about the wig, frankly, I've noticed, than care about whether he's mixed race or not. So if that's the thing that people want to be the most upset about, I prefer that they're angry about the wig to something as irrelevant as, okay, because the Velaryons could be mixed race because they're lower ranking Valyrians below the Dragon Lords, why not make them mixed race just to differentiate them more? And that isn't just to be woke or PC, that makes story sense. That even before this casting, we were debating, kind of a complaint in the book fandom is the Velaryons are sort of Targaryen light, that they look the same as them, but they have ships instead of dragons. What is a quick and easy way to differentiate them visually that we're the lower ranking guys from out in the provinces? Well, like real life colonial empires, like they're like the Cuba to the Targaryen Spain. They're the Barbados to the Targaryens England. That they're this distant overseas colony. They're lower ranking soldiers that went out to seek their fortune. They weren't as obsessed with blood purity because they were so low ranking and they were out in the outer provinces. So I'm fine with that. And given a choice, I'm happier people are more talking about the wig than the color, the quality of the wig than the color of his skin. I'm fine with that. So that's all the changes to Laenor. Theo Nate is an actor. Like I said, all really have to go on is that video clip. Check it out below. As for Laenor, the character, fictional universe, long story short, I'm sorry if you had to sit through all this if you haven't read the books yet, but it's pretty easy to follow, actually. It's a short prequel novella, and so many people for 2 years have been going, this is so complicated. Like, you've had 2 years to read the prequel novella since they announced House of the Dragon was being developed. You could have looked this up. It would take less time to look it up than it would to complain about it. That's why we make wiki articles and family trees. Short version is that about 100 years after the Targaryen conquest, but still a little over 200 years before Game of Thrones, old King Jaehaerys was coming off this 50-year reign of peace and prosperity, and he had a lot of children. Only 2 of his sons had children of their own, though. His older son, whose name was Aemon, had one surviving child, his daughter Rhaenys, played by Eve Best. And his second son, Balon, you don't need to know that, had 2 surviving children. He had 2 sons, Viserys and Daemon. Daemon is the character played by Matt Smith. So this led to a succession dispute when both of Jaehaerys' sons died before he did, but they left these grandchildren behind, so Jaehaerys had to decide, do I go with my oldest son's daughter as the heir? She's the daughter of the crown prince, but she's a woman. Or do I go with the son of the second son? He wanted to go with the second son because they were worried about this whole succession dispute thing. Can a woman rule? The issue hadn't really come up before because the Targaryen dynasty was still pretty new, and they threatened a civil war. So to address that, they said, let's just have a great council. We'll get all of the lords of Westeros, all the 100 or so great ones, even the minor ones. There were like 1,000 lords and lordlings gathered at Harrenhal to have a vote. And the problem was, by this point, Rhaenys had married Corlys Velaryon, who was now the richest man in Westeros from his voyages, and she had a son and a daughter. Daughter's name is Laena. She comes up later. So she had a son, Laenor, and he's a young teenager, but he is the grandson of the crown prince. So they said, okay, if you don't want Rhaenys to be heir, if you're more worried about it needs to be a male heir, what about the male bloodline? Because he's the grandson of the crown prince. And this is how succession normally does work in Westeros, primogeniture. The daughter of a lord should succeed ahead of his brother. That if Robb Stark had had a surviving daughter, she would inherit rule of the North ahead of Bran Stark, his younger brother. That's just how it works. So he said, okay, if you want to skip Rhaenys, let's have a vote between Laenor and Viserys. Thing was, Laenor was a kid, and Viserys was already an adult, respected lord, and he already had a daughter, Rhaenyra. So Rhaenys and Viserys are first cousins. Laenor and Rhaenyra are second cousins. Viserys won the vote by a landslide, something like 20-1, though some of the great houses were divided. The Baratheons and the Starks actually voted for Laenor, along with a couple of other lords. So Laenor is the person that the Starks wanted to be king. But he lost the vote. They're still worried about a civil war because, well, the Velaryons are now estranged from the royal court. They're very wealthy. So they said, let's reunite these two rival branches, avoid a political incident. Just logically, obviously, okay, let's have Laenor marry Viserys' daughter to unite these two branches of the family. Everyone thought this was a good idea. Corlys and Rhaenys wanted it. Viserys thought it was good to get the Velaryons back into the fold. But Rhaenyra and Laenor didn't want it, and they were forced into this loveless arranged marriage for political alliances. Both of them hated it. The issue was, and they'll explain this in the show, and I wonder how they'll explain it, Laenor preferred the company of men. I mean, don't we all? But here's how the book describes it. Quote, when they were arranging the match, everyone thought it was a good idea at the small council, but one objection was raised. Laenor Velaryon was now 19 years of age, yet had never shown any interest in women. Instead, he surrounded himself with handsome squires of his own age, and was said to prefer their company. But Grand Maester Mellos dismissed this concern out of hand. What of it, he is supposed to have said. I am not fond of fish, but when fish is served, I eat it. Thus was the match decided. So Laenor didn't want to do this, Rhaenyra didn't want to do this, it was a loveless marriage, and this contributed to the rumors that maybe her sons with him were really bastards, because he barely spent time with her. Like every couple of months, they were in the same castle, so it wasn't impossible that he could have impregnated her. But still people questioned, and I think that in of itself doesn't really stand up to criticism. Like, even like a homosexual lord knows, I physically need to produce heirs for political reasons, even if he doesn't enjoy it. I'm going to make a couple of comparisons to Renly here. Renly knew he needed to marry Marjorie Tyrell and produce an heir with her, even though he was in love with her brother, Loras. Now, we're also getting spy photos of the other members of this convoluted love quadrangle. Laenor's longtime favorite, his longtime lover who he's in a romantic relationship with, is Sir Joffrey Lonmouth. The Lonmouths are a noble house from the Stormlands. The Stormlands are just south of Driftmark. And he's named Joffrey. Joffrey Baratheon wasn't the only person in the entire continent of Westeros named Joffrey. Martin made it a point that names repeat, that, like, there's more than one guy named Robert. Like, Robert Baratheon was a whoremonger. Robb Stark, who is named after him, was not. There's more than one guy named Jon. Jon Snow, Jon Arryn, they're even named after each other. So in the books, there's actually like 3 or 4 recurring characters named Joffrey just throughout the continent. I hate it when people need to react to that. It was a name that went around. So his longtime lover was Joffrey Lonmouth, and we now have spy photos of, and this is confirmed through the Daily Mail's spy photos on this. It says in their subtitle to the photos, we confirm this is Theonate as young Laenor Velaryon, and Scottish actor, I think, Solly MacLeod, is credited as Joffrey Lonmouth. So here is this couple together on screen. Here's Laenor and his lover Joffrey. They're not dressed in finery here. I don't know why they're just out. Maybe they took their armor off they're in a military camp. But these characters will be on screen.